Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when this bill came through the House originally, I stood there and spoke for about 9 minutes on why we should not pass this bill. I do thank the gentlelady, my friend from Philadelphia. I understand that she has good intentions with this bill, and I do believe the Senate made some improvements to it. However, it does not remove the basic problem with this bill in that it creates a blanket of secrecy in a one-size-all-fits fashion for every police department across the state. I think secrecy breeds contempt, and I believe we always ought to err on the side of transparency. These are public servants charged with carrying out public safety, using public resources paid for by public dollars. I have faith in the heads of our police departments across the state. They are the heads of those police departments because they are judicious, they know their communities, they know the needs of their communities. Mr. Speaker, I ask for a no vote. I will be voting no, despite the improvements the Senate made, because I believe our default in government always ought to be transparency, and I believe the people deserve to know if the chiefs of police, in their best judgment, believe the people should know. I urge a no vote. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's with great interest that I note that many of the speakers on this bill are from the city of first class, Philadelphia. But I believe we also need to think about those law enforcement chiefs, the heads of agencies in our small towns, in Annville, in Clayona, in North Lebanon Township. We're not just making this law, this blanket policy, for the police commissioner of Philadelphia. We're doing this for every law enforcement agency in the state. I'm extremely sympathetic to those members, former members of law enforcement who are here in this body, serving the people, like we all are. I'm very sympathetic to their desire for safety, to protect the families of law enforcement. But I can't see adopting a one-size-fits-all, muzzling every single law enforcement agency chief in the state. By law, we muzzle them. When they can muzzle themselves now if they see fit. Nothing prevents them from keeping this information to themselves right now on a case-by-case basis based on their knowledge of their community, their knowledge of the situation at hand. Nothing prevents them from keeping this information secret. But this law will. There may be times where the head of a law enforcement agency, not just in Philadelphia, not just in Pittsburgh, but in Annville or Clayona or North Lebanon Township, sees a need to actually identify who's involved. They don't have to identify the outcome of the investigation, and we see that all the time with regular citizens. The investigation may not be over, but we know who the citizens are who are involved in the incident. We don't keep their names secret. We're not making a law about that. Mr. Speaker, again, I trust our chiefs of law enforcement agencies. They are duly appointed or hired or rise up through the ranks. They're duly appointed by people who are elected by the people. I did hear a previous speaker, Mr. Speaker, refer to a knee-jerk reaction. I would certainly hope that any head of a law enforcement agency in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania has enough experience and the trust of the people that they're not going to react in a knee-jerk fashion. Again, Mr. Speaker, I reiterate, our default policy, and this body has done a lot of work on behalf of transparency over the last few years, our default policy in all areas ought to be transparency, not secrecy. Secrecy breeds contempt. A previous speaker talked about the relationship between the people and law enforcement and building a good relationship. And she gave plenty of examples of how that relationship is being built in her own district. That's what this is about. This is about the relationship between the citizenry of the Commonwealth and the law enforcement agencies of the Commonwealth. Mr. Speaker, secrecy breeds contempt and ruins that relationship. Transparency and the good judgment of our heads of our law enforcement agencies continues along the path of a good relationship. We need to nurture that relationship. In some cases, we need to improve that relationship. Transparency will do that. Mr. Speaker, again, I urge a no vote. Secrecy breeds contempt. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.